This week's scenario is Entrenched from the 2016 Steamroller package. The scenario does not have the Killbox Artifice effect and consists of two rectangular zones. The friendly zone can be dominated for 1 CP. The enemy zone can be controlled for 1 CP or dominated for 2 CPs, but not until the enemy objective has been destroyed for 1 CP. Victory conditions consist of 5 control points or caster assassination.
Hey everybody, CutThroatCure here. So for today's battle report I brought Madrak 1 and my favorite battle group being Rock, Bouncer, and a Mauler. I also brought a max unit of the Fennblades because I think they work really well with Madrak, and a Sorcerer attachment with the Officer and Drummer. I also brought a max unit of the Trollkin Champions with Skaldi Bonehammer, and I brought the Fellcaller hero and the Trollkin Champion heroes with me.
Hey everybody, this is Gaston, and today we're playing Dr. Arkadius. He had finished out the end of Mark II with the Nature of the Beast theme force and one of the stronger casters in the faction, and his transition over to Mark III has actually been very positive. He's gained a lot from being able to take all the other options within minions, not just the pig side of the house, as well as he's gotten a couple of new abilities, which is the Adrenaline Injection, the Reposition 3, and then the most important one is his feat lets you pick your frenzy target. Deployment-wise is pretty straightforward. One of the things that's unfortunate in the transition from Mark II to Mark III is the Roadhogs lost the ability to get Pathfinder when they use their aggression dial. So with that in mind, the Snake is the only thing in this list that has Pathfinder, so he's the one deploying behind the forest, and then we have a little minor earthquake going on with the camera angle. But everything else is kind of deploying so that way you can run around that forest on turn 1. And we're not going to, have that terrain be an issue for us later on in the game.
So at the beginning of my deployment, I'm looking across the board and all I see is bacon. So I start by putting Madrak front and center beside the champions, because if I need to screen him or maybe take out a beast, I feel that between the champions and Skaldi, I can do that. I decide to try and put a little bit of a threat into the bottom zone. So I put the champion hero and I put the Mauler down there in case I need a heavy hitter. And then at the very top, I put Rock and the rest of the Fennblades, because I believe with their speed, I can start threatening the uppermost zone and try and play out a scenario, since I know with all the units I have, it's going to be hard to kill all of his beasts and get to Arkadius.
So when playing Arkadius, order of activations, particularly on turn 1, can be very helpful to you in order to maximize it. So one of the things you want to do is you want to activate the Roadhogs first if you intend on using full Boar with them. Go ahead, take that damage ahead of time, and then you're going to use Arkadius to heal it all back up with Psychosurgery. One of the downsides to what I'm doing with the Roadhogs is I'm cutting kind of hard towards the flanks, and I found that to be pretty effective, particularly when dealing with an infantry swarm like all these Fennblades, that you can either cut inwards or you can go backwards and kind of go into picking out a couple key solos. In this case, the Fennblades have the Sorcerer who can get rid of Crippling Grasps. I don't like that, and so I want to set up my Roadhogs in order to be able to snipe him out. The downside to this is that you lose out on one of Arkadius' best features, is his needle gun. He's got, I believe it's called Raw Adrenaline, which boosts all your attack and damage rolls, and obviously that's fantastic on the Roadhogs, but you don't get to use it if you flank really hard with them. So next up we're going with Dahlia and Skarath. Skarath is the only option for Pathfinder in this list, which is one of the reasons why I consider him to be very key. He's also a fantastic target for Forced Evolution, because he has the highest defense in the list, so he'll actually go all the way up to defense 16, and then having a POW, I believe that takes him up to 18, with Prime looking up to POW 20. He's got the paralysis, the 3d6 to hit. There's a lot of advantages to having him, and he is a superstar in this list, make no mistake about it. So now we have Arkadius going up. He's going to maltreat some random critter. I'm sorry to that, whatever critter takes the damage. He's going to go ahead and put Forced Evolution up, he's going to put Hyper Aggressive up, and he's going to put Guardian Beast in this game. And then he's going to go ahead and put up Psychosurgery, so he's healing back all the damage that was done previously when the beasts ran forward. The reason I put up Guardian Beast instead of Aggravator is there's just not a lot of shooting. in my opponent's list, so it'd be kind of a wasted ability. And then there's his reposition 3. Pretty much everything else in the list is just going to run forward at this point. Again, we're kind of keeping an eyeball on where those forests are. We don't want to get gummed up in them unless we're Skarath. Alternatively, one of the other things about this list is I have 2 Goraxes, but I don't have 2 painted Battle Boars. I generally like the Battle Boar over the Goraxes at this point, because it adds a little bit more to the anti-infantry aspect of the list, that sometimes it can struggle with mass amounts of infantries because you're running a lot of heavies.
So starting my first turn, I look across and I see that Arkadius is up, but so is a ton of very large pigs. I think that if I put my units up a bit, that I can maybe screen the rest of my army by sacrificing maybe 1 or 2 Fennblades. And that's not such a loss, since it'll allow me to proc Vengeance. And with the mini feat from the Fennblades, I have Pathfinder. So maybe creating some fun, charge lanes and stuff, and some vectors to get into his to his beasts would be beneficial, and maybe even opening up something to get to Arkadius, especially since with Guided Hand and everything else, I might be able to even run up, get somewhere near Arkadius, pop feet, and be able to attack. So, I definitely have some plans. I just have to make sure that my stuff gets into the right position in order to do that. So my major focus here is trying to leave each of my other Fennblades at least 3 inches behind the forward Fennblades. My thought process on that is that if something would get base to base with my Fennblades up front, or even within an inch, then that gives me 5 inches of movement in the Vengeance to move up and still make a strike, while also forcing something that if it wants to get to my back row, they have to possibly take those free strikes from my forward Fennblades. So trying to make sure that I'm dominating or making sure that I have a presence in this bottom zone, you see me putting the champions down there and making sure that at least 2 of them are in the zone. And my idea on this is that if I can start threatening and making sure that he knows that I'm going to go for that, maybe I can get him to divert his forces a little bit and still maybe find an opening to get to Arkadius. I keep Rock in the middle because I feel that once whatever gets to the front Fennblades, after they do their bit of damage, Rock can go in there and hand out a little bit of his own medicine. So I move Madrak up, and once again, I'm trying to keep him very central because I want to be able to, if need be, to move him up and pop feet and get as many people as possible. As I said, one of my ideas is if I can get my Fennblades somewhat close to Arkadius, even if I have to run them, then I could pop feet, and between Guided Hand, I would still get boosted to hit. And, Arkadius is definitely not the strongest of the minion warlocks, so being able to put him down with any bit of damage is definitely possible. So I didn't have enough movement fully to put my Mauler in there, while also feeling like I was going to be comfortably out of the threat range of the bottommost Roadhog. And even though those piggies are fast, I definitely didn't want to take all the damage that they might provide. While I also put my champion in the forest down there because I knew that he would be safe with the Pathfinder and stuff. And he's also contesting the zone, so I figured that would make it a little bit easier. And last but not least, I moved the Fellcaller up in case I need to use him somewhere.
Okay, so time to upkeep the spells that I got out and get to work. A lot of this turn is going to revolve around kind of handling these Fennblades. Fennblades, there's something you need to deal with kind of quickly. You don't want to have a Fennblade problem going throughout the game. And his are going to just be super annoying because of the buffs he has on them. So what we're looking at doing is having the Bone Grinders come forward. They're going to put Craft Talisman on Arkadius. he's going to go up, Crippling Grasp of Fennblades, reposition backwards, and then the final piece of this puzzle is we need to be able to snipe out that Sorcerer who's in that upper left-hand corner there, hiding all the way in the back. And if you sit there, you kind of think about it, and then you measure it out, the Roadhog spray up there at the top, remember I ran him out to that flank, will get him. It is deep enough to get that spray 10 all the way in there, and then the hope and the goal is that you actually don't kill that front Fennblade with the spray, so that way you can then lightning strike backwards and be nice and safe. So Arkadius goes, he casts a spell, I think he manages to hit it by 1, got kind of lucky on that boost there. So they are all Crippling Grasp and very unhappy. And then he's just going to make sure that when he does reposition backwards, I don't want to reposition such that the Roadhog is out of my control area. That would be very embarrassing for me. So now we're going to have the Roadhog. I was trying to get it where he didn't need to force full Boar, and I think I do. So he goes ahead, he just charges on in. The other thing we're checking here, because you can use the bases, which is very nice, is that I don't want to end up in charge range of rock. So what I'm trying to do is say, I want this spray centered on this model, I want to get, I want to get in, I want to get that Sorcerer, and then I want to have it be as far back as possible where rock cannot get to the Roadhog, and I can still make my melee attacks just in case I kill that Fennblade with a spray, and I don't get to lightning strike back. So there's a lot of pre-measuring, a lot of being fiddly here, but I'm able to get my way. And then spray down, I forget how many, I think it was all 5 of those guys. It's a very good spray. So, just doing some communication with my opponent. And then rolling some dice, killing some guys. We're going to go ahead and boost on the Sorcerer because he's very important to me. And successfully kill off the Sorcerer. Very excited. The Fennblade that I did spray made his tough check, ironically, so I go ahead, take my melee attacks on him, kill him, and then do my lightning strike after the fact. Then scoot, scoot, scoot around behind the objective, behind the smoke cloud, so that way, I'm not going to get charged, no one can see me. So that plan went off perfectly without a hitch. Very happy about that. The next thing we're going to want to do is get some Dahlia into the mix. She can stop orders from being given and received to models within her control area. So we're probably going to take the snake, we're going to move him up to the zone, he's going to spray a couple guys, and we're going to have Dahlia there in order to give her bonus, which is additional dice to hit. Down at the bottom there you saw the Feralgeist ran in there. I call him the Contest-Geist. Basically I don't want Madrak coming forward and camping in the zone and scoring points. That's not very nice for me. So he's there. I think Madrak, it might literally be the only magical weapon left in this list. I think the Sorcerer is the only other one he had, and he's dead now. So that Feralgeist is actually kind of a bit of a scenario issue for him. If he does come over and manage to kill off the Feralgeist, I still have that Gobber chef down at the bottom. He can run on in there too and get me another turn of scenario saving grace. Otherwise, just figuring out some order of activations. There's not a whole lot else that's going to go on here, just a little bit of positioning. So first up we have Dahlia, she's just running, and we're just trying to get her kind of central and see how many of these guys we can get. The ability to deny them the orders to run and charge is very, very good for me, because it allows me just more turns of kind of pecking at him and sniping at him and doing damage before he actually arrives. And it's kind of a nice thing that she gets that front row of champions, because then the Roadhog can hit them and they can't get to him. He can stay far enough back because now they're losing that 3 inches. So the snake goes in, he boosts a hit on whatever target, I think it was the far Fennblade there, kills him. So that way I have that remaining Fennblade in range of Dahlia, so that way the snake can get an ancillary attack and then do his thing. So now we're just, again, checking that threat range, and then we're running the Warhog over there to that flank to kind of help out the Roadhog. So that way I've got one Warhog to deal with Rock, got another Warhog to deal with the Mauler, and then the Roadhogs are there for support, go kill an objective, go kill a couple friends. Now light him on fire. So we got the snake, ancillary attack, he does his thing, and gets himself another Fennblade. My opponent wasn't doing too good on the tough checks, which I'm totally fine with. Tough can still be a very frustrating ability. Now we got the Gobbers going in. I misplayed this a little bit, where I should have kind of had them moving up towards the middle, Arkadius style, and that way they could have cut inwards and upwards and completely made that cloud off. They got blocked behind the beasts a little bit. But that cloud wall is still there. It would have been nice to connect it to the forest to block off charges. But it'll do the job. The Roadhog, he's just taking a random potshot spray. Because of Fury issues, I don't want to go too crazy on the boosting here. But he actually does manage to accidentally kill off a champion. I guess losing the the drop from 8 to 5 health was actually kind of a big hit for them. So go figure. I didn't see that one coming. Then everyone else is just kind of moving around doing their thing. And then we'll see what my opponent has coming up.
So that hurt. That Roadhog being able to get up there with their sprays and wiping out an entire line of Fennblades definitely was not what I had in mind. So I need to try and make the use out of what I have left. I lost a good bit of units, and so I guess my screening tactic didn't take into account the just sheer amount of sprays that Gaston was able to throw into me. Once again, my plan was still to get into Arkadius, but unbeknownst to me, the snake charmer in the middle, I cannot remember her name, absolutely proved to be the bane of my existence. I, for the love of me, always heard about the, great flying snakes issue, and, definitely with some of Madrak 1's spells, I don't have to worry about being knocked down, so therefore some of the stuff isn't as dangerous. But I didn't know at all exactly what she could do. So when I found out that she forces me to not be able to take orders, it really put a kink in my plan, because as you can see, my two uppermost Fennblades, now even with Pathfinder and everything, and running, I could possibly get to her, or I could possibly get to Arkadius, but the issue is I'm not able to run because I can't issue orders with them, or accept orders. And then in the very bottom, the front two champions, they're also caught, so therefore they can't charge. So therefore the pigs that are in front of me, which, might suffer from a successful charge from weapon masters, isn't going to work. And this proves to be an issue. I just couldn't figure out how to get around her. I couldn't attack her because of her spells and her abilities, and I couldn't run past her to get to Arkadius. So here I am with 4 trolls who are completely just stuck. So, and not to mention that every single ranged weapon that I have in my entire army is range 8. And if I'm within 8 of her, then I can't do anything. So I was really stuck. I couldn't target her with attacks. So I was really stuck in this weird position of I can't get close to her and kill her because she's the issue she's the thing that's causing so many issues. But I also can't move past her and ignore her in order to get the stuff. So you'll definitely see me here trying to figure out some sort of maybe sidelong, lane that I can maybe get, like right here I'm measuring with rock, in order to see if I can get a assault spray into her off one of the other beasts and potentially kill her. But because of the forest in the middle, I can't see enough of any of the beasts in order to get a charge line in order to attack her with a spray and something else. So this is definitely proving to be very difficult for me. So And I mean, it takes me quite a bit to figure out anything I want to do. And I mean, I know our conversation definitely between Gaston and I is going back and forth with me just wanting to beat my head against the table because I don't know what to do in order to get past her. And, you know, when we go into battles like this, you definitely don't know what list you're going into. You know what faction you're probably playing into, but we definitely like to build stuff and just kind of have fun and play into it. But when you drop such a heavy piece like the Snake Charmer, who basically shut down everything I had, especially in a very unit-intensive army list, you know, it definitely proved to be an issue. So here I am, I'm reading through all my cards, trying to find anything that might allow me to do something to get by her. Because as I said, even if I move certain guys out of the way, the rest of my people are so far out of range that it's not going to allow me to be able to do anything. So this definitely is an issue. And when it comes to my champions, my front two champions, who are the ones with the best range, they can't run or charge in order to get up to the pigs, so they're blocking my very own charge lanes. So, you know, definitely created a beast brick that bricked itself up and then had nowhere to go. So this proved to be quite an issue for me, and had I known she had an ability like that, I don't actually know what I would have done differently, you know? Maybe taken them all one way and tried to stay away from the forest, but by keeping everybody in the middle, I definitely allowed her to really shine and stop my army. So I'm trying to move my people up in order to make sure that I can try and do something. I figure that, you know, I'm still threatening the bottommost zone, but with the Feralgeist in the bottom right, at the bottom zone, and really no way to kill him, you know, I can't really challenge that zone. And then up top, you've got, you know, a Roadhog, a Warhog, and a Gorax. And I think there was maybe another Roadhog up there. I don't remember, but I definitely remember a Roadhog, Warhog, and a Gorax. So, and the Gobbers. So I'm like, well, you know, I gotta do what I can. So I end up just kind of moving my people up, trying to put them in such a position where I can be within range of a beast, because this is definitely going to have to be the turn that I pop feet. And this is only because of the fact that I hope that, since I can't move everybody around, that maybe I'll be able to just put a few points of damage and weather the storm in order to maybe find a charge lane to Arkadius. But that also is seeming to prove difficult, because as long as he has the Snake Charmer able to do her shenanigans, this situation of not being able to charge, not being able to run and issue orders is going to happen again. So that's definitely very bothersome for me. So right here, I actually move into the cloud, and I'm trying to do as much damage as I can, killing the Gobbers, because I feel I need to kill something in this game so that I don't look like a complete failure. And I also figure that with Cleave, if I can hit the Gobbers, I can cleave into his beasts and maybe do some damage, you know, a few points here, a few points there, which with Guided Hand, it was easy to hit the Gobbers and hit the beasts, and I know I did a few points of damage to them. So nothing fantastic. It wasn't breathtaking. I didn't spike my dice and absolutely, you know, chop the arm off, you know, one of these bionicle ham machines, but I definitely felt like at least I was trying to do something, especially in a situation where I was, you know, very much outmaneuvered. So I figure that I need to try and do something, and I need to put some hits up here, and I need to start threatening him, and I need him being Gaston, to know that I still have a little bite left. So I am trying to figure out how to get into Arkadius with anything, to start putting a little threat into him, because I figure if I can hit him, I can definitely make him regret being what he is. So right here, I definitely misplayed and almost activated Madrak first, and then I realized that I was about to cost myself some free some free attacks with his feet. So Gaston was nice enough to let me move Madrak back and activate my champions instead, since I definitely knew that their attacks were going to be important in getting rid of some damage on the beasts. So, thank you to Gaston for allowing me to do that. So here you see me, I'm just kind of running up my beasts, my champions, because I figure if I can just get some hits into them when I pop the feet this turn, it'll at least loosen them up. Not to mention, maybe I can lock them down if they're unable to kill my champions. In hindsight, it might have been smart of me to put... It's not solid ground, it's Surefoot. If I had put Surefoot onto the champions, because I did in fact upkeep it on the Fennblades from the last turn, I think maybe his beasts would have definitely had a harder time hitting me at defense 16 between defensive line and Surefoot. So that was definitely something maybe I should have done here, because it could have created a completely different situation in the bottom part of the board. But I didn't, and I had Surefoot on the Fennblades because I didn't want them to get knocked down if for some reason I had to take a tough roll. Yeah, it's only a 5 and a 6, but if I can run past something and keep going, that would, definitely help out. So I do a few points of damage to the pigs in the bottom with the champions. Not a lot. Nothing like I would have. I definitely rolled very low, and that was disappointing to me because I was looking at my champions kind of like R2-D2 and being my only hope to do a decent amount of damage down there. So I can definitely say this entire turn was very disheartening, as I just kept coming back and staring at, Miss Lady Snake Charmer and thinking about just how royally fucked she left my army. So I popped my feet with Madrak and just was trying to throw some damage into everybody using my attacks. And it proved to not do a lot. I actually did one major hit into the Gorax, but it was nothing that was like spectacular or anything. Honestly, the dice were not with me, which was upsetting, especially with everything else that was against me. And so after my feat, I activate Rock and I move him into a better position, and then I pass this turn to Gaston. A few things. I figure that if need be, I can get him to do some damage later.
That was definitely a little bit scary for Arkadius, but managed to pull through okay. So we're going to go ahead, revolve the Fury, and then see what we can arrange here. It does look like this snake will end up being in walking range, actually, of Madrak, which is very nice and fun and handy. The catch to this is how to get him there without taking too many free strikes and just keeping him very effective. So there's going to be some order of activation issues there. The other thing is that you don't really want to send him in alone. You kind of want a backup plan. So we're going to be arranging, what happens when things go wrong here. And if the assassination completely fails, we want to leave Arkadius, just vulnerable. So we want to eliminate as many threats as possible. So we got the Roadhog, he's backing up, he's spraying down some Fennblades. These guys are very important to me because they're in the way of the Warhog, they're in the way of Skarath engaging him, and also I want to be able to pick those clouds up, and they're in the way of me picking my tokens up as well. So fortunately the Roadhog is on a union break and misses all of his attacks, which is not very pleased with my Roadhog there. So then we gotta do this the old-fashioned way. And there's some, you can see some proxy basing, some creativity here as I try to figure out how in the world to solve this little Rubik's Cube of killing Fennblades and doing so effectively. So what I'm looking at doing is kind of putting the Gorax in there, and I want to make sure that there's enough room for Skarath to go in, go around the Gorax. There's really not. You really want the Gorax to not be in that spot, and that's kind of what's jamming me up here a little bit. And, you know, we're going back and checking things again, and it's just not happening for me. It's very, very annoying. So, and the reason why we need those particular ones dead is that it would be really nice to be able to frenzy the Warhog forward and then have him cut in kind of behind Rock, so that way he's kind of my plan B if the snake doesn't go. So I'm not quite sure. I think, oh, Targ probably did an ancillary attack with the snake to kill that Fennblade. And then the other thing that kind of factors into all this is how do I use the feat? What models do I select? How do I set my guys up for success after the feat? And what you're going to see on the bottom is we also have that Mauler there and the 3 champions. So it'd be really nice to be able to kill the champions and the Mauler. The remaining 2 champions in the woods are kind of caught up in Dahlia bubble, so they're not really going anywhere. But obviously the focus is on the top of the screen there. We're trying to get rid of a couple more Fennblades before everything goes in, before I have to commit too much. What will ultimately end up happening is that the Gorax is actually going to move, here he goes, up to say hi to the Fennblade, to say hi to Rock. He's going to take his swings. He's really, really beat up. And again, order of activation issues. Need Arkadius to go to heal him prior to him actually being effective in attacking. Targ was not able to medicate him, because if it moved Targ there, then Targ would have blocked off the snake when the Gorax moved away. So that's why the ancillary attack happened instead. So now I'm just making sure that before I commit to the feat, that I'm happy with my positioning. And then also how I want to use my Primal Shocks, which is going to be the other key that I use to clear out these Fennblades. Now that Fennblades are engaged with the beasts, you're able to Primal Shock them without a penalty. And then you also have the Crippling Grasp on them as well. So, we go with Arkadius. He's going to go ahead, he's going to maltreat the offending Roadhog. It deserves it, as far as I'm concerned. Then we're going to start with a Primal Shock through the Warhog into the Fennblade up there, who is engaging him. And thankfully, that'll kill off that Fennblade. And that will free up my ability to then frenzy the Warhog into the back Fennblade, so then the Warhog now has the angle to get onto Madrak, hopefully, depending on how Rock goes. And Arkadius is going to go, he's going to go ahead and cast Psycho Surgery, and this is just a little break for me to sit there and go heal all the beasts. Then he's just going to kind of scoot to the side, and that's going to open up a charge lane for the Battle Boar as well, if I so desire. Then we're just going to have things frenzy. So we're going to start with the Gorax, he's going to go on that Fennblade, and he's going to kill himself the final Fennblade who's kind of in the snake's way. Next up will be the Warhog on top, and he's going to go into that far Fennblade. And this is me checking the angle to see, you know, what can I get away with? What can I do there? Because he does, when you do frenzy, you got to go straight in, and you got to kind of go until you go base to base. So just kind of want to see where I end up with. Always plan B is to just go kill Rock, and I think that's a very good plan B. Next up, we're going to have the Warhog there. He's just going to kill himself a champion, and we're going to have the Roadhog down there kill himself a champion as well. Plan B for the bottom of the screen is then the Roadhog is going to come around, kill that final champion, put a couple of swings into the Mauler there, and then you're going to have the Warhog able to go in and kill the Mauler as well. He rolled pretty bad on his feet, so they didn't take a lot of damage, so I'm not too worried about them getting beat up next turn. But I will say, situations like this are exactly why I have the snake in the list, because that snake has gotten a lot of assassinations. It really has. And having that forest in the middle of the board, without Dahlia, without having, I believe the spell is Mistwalker, to grant the Snake Pathfinder, this would be a totally different strategy, and it would just be sitting there and grinding me down again, because I would not have the ability to actually go through the woods. So Dahlia is just backing up so she can make sure she gets the line of sight, putting Mistwalker on Skarath, checking some positioning. Skarath did go ahead and get Primal off of something, somewhere. Either Arkadius or the Battle Boar or the Gorax. Probably not the Gorax, probably Arkadius. So Skarath is going to go in. He's got the paralysis, he's got 3d6 to hit, he's now swinging at POW 20, and he is just an assassination machine. I absolutely love this guy in this list. So he's just chomping on him some Madrak. Madrak's got that scroll that's really annoying, it kind of stops him from getting damage. But Skarath is enough that he's able to take him out. Thank you all for watching.
So what can I say? Minions got in there and got the job done. I definitely was happy that I was able to put a few points of damage into Arkadius. Not as enough to bring him down. I will say that definitely the Snake Charmer and her snake really put in the work. They were able to shut me down, especially with running so many units and not being able to issue any types of orders. It really put me in a position where I had to think of other things to do, and I was just coming up with very little options, especially when being faced with so many beasts. I will definitely call them the MVPs, and it's definitely something I'm going to go and research a little bit more about, because I am continuing to see them a lot more in my meta, and I feel like I need to learn a little bit more, because I don't want a situation like this to happen again. And definitely I thank Gaston for playing a game with me. It was a lot of fun, even though it was difficult. Thanks, guys.